Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Simple English Talks. I'm so happy you're joining us today. Whether you're listening from home, at work, or on your way somewhere, we're really glad you're here.
Hey there. Great to see you all again. So, how's your English practice going? I always love imagining all the different places our listeners are tuning in from. It's honestly one of the best parts of doing this show.
Oh, I love that too. Just before we started recording today, I was thinking, when I first started learning English, there was one word that absolutely confused me every single time I heard it.
And that word is the topic for today. We're talking about would. Yes, that little word that shows up everywhere in English but can mean so many different things depending on how you use it.
That's right. And by the end of this episode, you're going to feel so much more confident using would in real conversations. You'll understand how to use it for past habits, polite requests, and imaginary situations, three of the most common uses.
We'd love to hear from you today. Here's our question. When do you feel most confused by would? Is it in movies, in conversations, or when you're trying to write something? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one.
And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to Simple English Talks. We put out new episodes every week, all designed to help you speak English more naturally and with confidence.
All right, let's not waste another second. Let's dive right in and start mastering would together.
Okay, so the first use of would that we're going to talk about is using it to describe past habits, things you did regularly in the past but probably don't do anymore. The basic structure is really simple. Subject plus, would plus base verb. That's it.
Exactly. And here are some great examples. When I was a kid, I would wake up really early every morning. Or how about, my grandmother would always make soup on Sundays. And another one, we would play outside until it got dark. He would walk to school every day. They would visit their grandparents every summer.
I love those examples. I can actually relate to that last one. When I was young, we would take a long drive every summer to visit family. It was a whole tradition. We'd stop at the same gas station, eat the same snacks, every single year.
Ha, that sounds amazing. So listeners, think about your childhood for a second. What would you do on weekends when you were young? Maybe you would play a sport, or you would help cook dinner, or you would watch a favorite TV show with your family. Can you picture it?
Now here's something really important. Would for past habits means the action happened regularly. It wasn't just once. So if something happened only one time, we don't use would. For example, you can't say yesterday I would go to the store. That's wrong. You'd say yesterday I went to the store. Would is for repeated actions in the past.
Great point. And one more thing. Would for past habits works really well with time expressions like when I was young, as a child, back then, or in those days. These time phrases tell the listener that you're talking about the past. So you might say, back then we would write letters instead of sending messages. Doesn't that paint a nice picture?
It really does. Now, can you make a sentence using would for a past habit from your own life? Maybe something your family would do or something you would do at school. Try saying it out loud right now. Don't be shy.
And here's a little challenge. Write your sentence in the comments below. We'd love to see what you come up with. Something like, when I was little, I would... Go ahead and finish that sentence. And if you're finding this helpful, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps our channel grow. So to recap this section, would for past habits uses subject plus, would plus base verb. It describes repeated past actions, and it usually appears with past time expressions. You're doing great. Let's keep going.
Now let's move on to the second use of would, and this one is super practical. We use would to make polite requests and offers in everyday life. If you've ever felt a little awkward asking someone for something in English, this is going to help you so much.
Right. And here's why this matters. In English, how you ask something is just as important as what you're asking. There's a big difference between saying, give me the menu, and would you give me the menu? The second one sounds so much more natural and polite.
Let's look at some real-life situations. Imagine you're at a restaurant. Would you like some water? That's the server being polite. Or maybe you want help from a friend. Would you help me move this table? Or at work. Would you mind sending me that report when you have a chance? These all feel natural, don't they?
They really do. And listen to this little role play between us. Pretend we're colleagues. Hey, would you be able to join the meeting at 3? Oh, I'd love to, but I have another call. Would it be okay to send my notes instead? You see how would makes the whole conversation flow politely and naturally.
Now let's compare formal and informal. In informal situations with close friends, you might say, "Can you help me?" But in more formal situations, at work, with strangers, or in writing, "Would you be able to help me?" sounds much more professional and respectful.
Here are 3 tips for using would in polite requests. First, would you is perfect when asking someone to do something. Second, would you like is great for offering something to someone. Third, would you mind is especially polite. Use it when you're asking for something that might be slightly inconvenient.
Okay, quick practice. How would you politely ask a colleague to review your work? Or how would you offer a guest something to drink? Try saying it out loud. Maybe, "Would you mind taking a look at this?" Or, "Would you like some tea?" Give it a go.
Write one of your polite sentences in the comments. We'd love to read them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time. Just hit that button and you'll never miss an episode of Simple English Talks. Let's review. Would makes requests polite and natural. Would you for requests. Would you like for offers. Would you mind for especially gentle requests. Excellent work. You're really building up your English skills.
All right, here's where things get really interesting. The third use of would is for hypothetical or imaginary situations, basically things that aren't real right now, but you're imagining what would happen if they were. This is called the second conditional, and it's used all the time in English conversation.
And the structure is if plus subject plus past tense verb, subject plus would plus base verb. So, for example, if I had $1,000,000, I would travel the world. Or, if it rained tomorrow, we would cancel the picnic. Or, how about, if I could speak any language, I would choose Japanese. These are all imaginary. They're not happening right now, but we're exploring the possibility.
You know, I love this use of would because it opens up such fun conversations like, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? If you could have any job, what would you do? These kinds of questions are everywhere in everyday English, in interviews, in small talk, in social media.
Exactly. And here's a tip for sounding more natural. In fast-spoken English, would often becomes D, so I would go becomes I'd go. She would love it becomes she'd love it. We would be so happy becomes we'd be so happy. Using this contraction makes you sound much more fluent and natural.
For politeness and softening your tone, hypothetical would is brilliant too. Instead of saying, "I think that's wrong," you might say, "I would say that's not quite right." It sounds less direct and more diplomatic, which is something native speakers use a lot, especially in professional settings.
Let's do a mini practice right now. I'll start a sentence and you finish it out loud. Ready? If I didn't have to work tomorrow, what would you do? Say it right now. If I could speak to anyone in history, who would you choose? Come on, don't be shy. Say it out loud.
I love this activity. And you know what? Speaking out loud, even when no one is listening, is one of the most powerful things you can do to improve your English. Your brain needs to practice forming sentences, not just reading them.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear your imaginary sentences in the comments. Write, if I could change one thing about my life, I would, and finish it your way. It's a great way to practice and share a little about yourself. And remember to subscribe to Simple English Talks if you haven't already. We're building a whole community of English learners here. So to review, would plus imaginary situations uses the structure if plus past tense, would plus base verb. You can contract would to D in speech, and it's also a great tool for sounding polite and diplomatic. You're doing brilliantly. Let's tackle some common mistakes next.
Okay, confession time. Even as someone who has been speaking English for years, I still made mistakes with would early on. And honestly, that's completely normal. So let's go through some of the most common errors learners make so you can avoid them.
Mistake number 1. using would in the if clause. So many learners say, if I would have money, I would travel. But that's incorrect. The correct version is, if I had money, I would travel. The if part uses the past tense, had. Would only goes in the second part of the sentence, not the if part.
Yes, this one trips up so many people. The reason is that in many languages, both parts of the sentence use the same conditional word. But in English, they're split. Past tense in the if clause, would in the result clause. Keep that pattern in mind. If plus past tense, would plus base verb.
Mistake number 2, using would for something that actually happened instead of used to. Compare these two. I would go to that school versus I used to go to that school. Both can work for past habits, but used to is clearer and more common when talking about things that have completely stopped. Would sounds more nostalgic and storytelling-like, so be careful which one you reach for.
Mistake number 3, forgetting the base verb after would. Sometimes learners say things like, I would going to the park, which sounds very unnatural. Remember, after would you always use the base form of the verb, no ing, no ed, so it's I would go, not I would going.
And mistake number 4, this one made me laugh when I first heard it, saying, would you like coming with us? The correct form is, would you like to come with us? After would you like, we use to plus verb, not the ing form. Would you like to join us? Would you like to have dinner? Always to plus base verb after would you like.
Honestly, making mistakes is part of the process. Every mistake you make is a sign that you're trying, and that's what matters. The more you practice, the more natural would will start to feel.
Now here's a little quiz for you. Which is correct? A, if I would win the lottery, I would travel. Or B, if I won the lottery, I would travel. Say your answer out loud, then write it in the comments. And if you're learning a lot today, share this episode with a friend who's studying English. That's one of the nicest things you can do to help us and help them.
All right, it's time for our Choose the Correct Sentence activity. I'm going to give you 2 options, and I want you to choose the better one. Say your answer out loud. This is really important for training your ear and your mouth at the same time. Ready? Let's go.
Situation 1, you want to politely ask your teacher to explain something again. A, explain it again. B, would you mind explaining it again? Which one? B is correct, of course. It's polite, it's natural, and it's exactly what a fluent English speaker would say in that situation.
Situation 2, you're talking about your childhood. A, when I was young, I would play football every day. B, when I was young, I would play football every day. Which one? B. Remember, after would we always use the base form of the verb. No past tense, no ing, just the simple base verb.
Situation 3, imagining something that's not real. A, if I have wings, I would fly. B, if I had wings, I would fly. B is correct. The if clause uses the past tense, had, even though we're imagining the future. That's the second conditional structure.
Situation 4, offering something to a guest. A, would you like some tea? B, do you like some tea? A is correct. Would you like is the polite, natural way to offer something. Do you like asks about a general preference, not whether someone wants something right now.
Now here's your challenge. Create one sentence of your own for each of the 3 uses we learned today: would for past habits, would for polite requests, and would for imaginary situations. Write all 3 in the comments. We seriously love seeing your sentences. It shows us how much progress you're making.
And remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is communication. Even if your sentence has a small mistake, keep going. Real conversations happen in real time, and fluency comes from practice, not from waiting until everything is perfect.
Absolutely. And here's your formal versus informal bonus. Can you help me? Is casual and friendly. Would you be able to help me? Is more professional and polite. Both are correct. It just depends on the situation. Practice both and you'll be ready for any conversation that comes your way.
Wow, what an amazing episode. You've just learned so much about one of the most versatile words in the English language. Give yourself a pat on the back. Seriously. You came here to learn, and you did exactly that.
Let's go over the three main uses we covered today. Number one, would for past habits, things you did regularly in the past. When I was a child, I would read every night. Number two, would for polite requests and offers. Would you like some help? Would you mind checking this? Number three, would for hypothetical situations. If I could fly, I would visit every country. Three powerful uses, one small word.
And here's the most important thing to remember. You don't need to get it perfect every time. Language learning is a journey, and every step forward counts. The fact that you're here, listening, and practicing, that's already putting you ahead.
Here's a question to reflect on. Which use of would do you think you'll use the most in your own daily life? Is it past habits, polite requests, or imaginary situations? Take a moment to think about it, and then write your answer in the comments below. We'd genuinely love to know.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, share it with a friend who's learning English, and leave us a comment telling us what you learned today. And of course, subscribe to Simple English Talks so you never miss our next episode. We release new content every week just for you.
Learning English takes time, it takes patience, and it takes courage. But you're showing up, and that matters more than anything. We're so proud of every single one of you. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep practicing, and know that we're here cheering you on every step of the way. And thanks so much for spending this time with us at Simple English Talks. Until next time, keep smiling, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.